What the fuck is this? Why this interface? I mean, I appreciate the callback to the PS1 system menu, don't get me wrong, but why not just take it there all the way? Ah, okay. This trailer was neat though. Chemical Brothers, Demo Dino, you know, it was cool. Also, can I hack this? I kinda got this just so I could hack this. I already did even. I know buying a Raspberry Pi is cheaper, but you actually need to construct those yourself, and I ain't doing that. Plus, look at it. It's fucking adorable. Just 20 games though. I kinda wanna dump the whole library onto a USB stick and run that, as now it has Battle Arena Toshinden. And the Tony Hawk's license is a mess, so have this instead. Or my favorite, game that's available for free on Rockstar's own website. Cool. Sony didn't even give me this shit for free either. Like, what, 15k subs and over 200 reviews of your game's not enough? Am I not loyal to the brand? Does my logo need to look like this? Or is it because I bullied Kojima? It's because I bullied Kojima, isn't it? I mean, I like his game. It's on here. I reviewed it recently as part of my retrospective, so go watch that instead. FF7 is also on here, and fuck knows I've made fun of Square, like, a lot, which you can watch me do here, and I did a retrospective on the Tekken series too, so if you want my more detailed thoughts on 3, then I'm not gonna repeat them here. What I will say is that these ports are like, not great. I was expecting to get similar shit as what you'd see on PSN, but the system as a whole runs on just a regular ass emulator that you can use on phone or PC. Only, unlike those crisp, smooth, and option-heavy emulators, the games here seem noticeably soft, as if it's running one of those smoothing filters or whatever, that, if this menu is anything to go by, can't be turned off. Also, there's some slowdown here and there, which is more audible than anything, and Jesse's techno nerd shit sounds off too, as do the cursor sounds in MGS1. Both having this bit-crushy digitized distortion layer, and the battle transitions is fucked as well. But, of course, Tekken 3 is unplayable! Because it's in PAL, running a smidge slower, so things like combo timings and the general rhythm of play change as a result. If you're American. I'm fine with the unplayable version, as it's what I've been unplaying my entire life, though even then this somehow feels like it's less responsive. It has like frame stutter that the regular disc version didn't have. Now, obviously, these audio glitches, exposed stitches, and minor emulation glitches don't ruin the games entirely, but admittedly, those are some, let's say if I can run this on Windows XP expectations, and not like $100 consumer-grade product expectations. Though, the controllers are great. You get two, and they feel just as solid and weighty as they should, with great button feel, so kudos to that. It's just that the software side kinda sucks. But anyway, with that out of the way, let's get to some of the good shit. Yeah, good shit. If you've watched my channel for any amount of time, you've probably seen me bring up this collection of low-budget Japanese games called the Simple series. The vast majority of it is just mahjong and shitty sports shit, but a few gems have come out of it. Mainly the stuff by developer Tamsoft and their Onechan Bara and Senran Kagura franchises. These have fans, okay good games, and have long since outlived their low-budget trappings for the most part. Well, they do now. Certainly not back then. So, it is with this in mind that I must say that it's rather fucking puzzling that Sony put their full support into the big booby obscurity for a good while, having them produce what was to be the PS1's flagship fighting game franchise, labeling it as the Saturn Killer, going straight up against the likes of Virtua Fighter.
You lose.
Things didn't really pan out that way though, as a more direct VF copy reared its low-poly head that also happened to be good actually and was designed from the ground up to use the PS1's architecture to its fullest, thus making Battle Arena Toshinden seem dated the very year that it came out. But hey, that still didn't stop Sony from haphazardly slapping it on here pretending like nothing ever happened. Dated, by the way, also being exactly what it still plays like, seeing as this might honestly be the stiffest fighter ever created. None of the moves have any beef or lunging properties or really anything that gives off a good sense of contextual feedback or kinesthetic feel. Terms like molasses come to mind, but that ain't really it, as it isn't really slow per se. Big props to the full width font usage in all of the menus though, and I guess the fact that the start menu actually wants you to hit start and scroll using select is pretty cute too. But yeah, this is a pretty straightforward storyless arcade port, which is odd considering that it never even came to arcades in the first place. You got high kicks, high slashes, and where kicks? Or is it weak and hard? Why would you ever include an attack and willingly call it weak though? With which you painfully perform combos. Can't say that I ever got the impression that any of this is balanced at all, but really, what does it matter when you have animations that are so bad, all moves become moot anyway. I could bring up the weird attack delays or the shitty impact sounds, but I think that just seeing it in motion should say more than enough. Like, look at these walking animations, these jittery wind poses, and these stiff as a dick legs aimlessly flailing around as if these people were made out of wood. And sure, it does have some mechanical depth in the form of stances, like how this old guy will stand on his claws after walking a certain distance, letting you do a set of moves from there, but when you can barely even tell what's going on because of the wooden frames, it's hard not to say something along the lines of, "This fucking sucks." And trust me, I do not say that lightly. I've found things worth appreciating in games like Sonic the Fighters, Evil Zone, Toe Ball, Dragon Ball Evolution. They would at least have cool characters or art or a fun and interesting story or side modes or a neat aesthetic or gameplay that'll be fun to fuck with on your own regardless of balance. But BAT ain't got none of that. It's like a tech demo or proof of concept for a fighting game and not a very good one at that. Which, mind you, had a Sega Saturn version of Big Betrayal that did have an hilarious story mode, and there's even a PC port with Earthworm Jim in it. Is that because the PS1 release got rushed to meet the launch deadline? Yeah, probably. Doesn't explain though how it got 10 out of 10s across the board. Yep. So, I can get that the Tony Hawk's license is a mess and that Activision is probably hell to do business with and that therefore they put this on. And I can also get that Crash, Spyro, and Symphony of the Night aren't on here because they just got PS4 re-releases. But what I don't get is why Sony's own exclusives and in-house games are so poorly represented. Like, where's VIP Ribbon, Tomba, Kula World, Bushido Blade, Silent Hill, Devil Dice, Gran Turismo, or Wipeout, which literally was an image-defining game and system seller here in Europe, or fucking Legend of the Motherfucking Dragoon, produced by Shuhei Yoshida himself and is widely regarded as the third, second, or even the best JRPG on the system. And why did they leave out the analogs? Would that drive up production costs too much? Maybe, but fuck Ape Escape then, I guess. Just here. Go play Cool Borders instead. Which I will gladly do, in fact, as it's actually pretty fun and stylish too. Fucking fonts and menus up the ass and a soundtrack consisting mostly out of hip-hop and jungle, it's pretty fucking 90s cool. Made by Wep of Rising Zan fame. Yeah, this game is actually Japanese. Cool Borders 2 beat out Tony Hawk by a good 2 years, hence why it's not quite as trick-heavy as the extreme sports games coming out after it, but a bit more subdued, attempting a realistic snowboarding vibe, with the physics and the hokey jumps and the not being able to touch anything lest you be left ducking it up dead in snow. You do have tricks like one would IRL, but you need a sufficient amount of air to get there, which you can get with ramps and through holding down jump button to charge up your legs or whatever. Nor are they at all as arcadey as one would expect, seeing you hammering down triggers in tandem with timing and directions as to not land flat on your ass. Shit stuff, especially when you consider that it's a racing game first and foremost and that it just kinda drops you in there with nay but loading screen hints in the ire of the crowd.
I'm not giving up.
But it feels good to play, that's for sure. The physics of the snow and the sense of speed are done quite well, requiring you to charge stances to turn or pivot or lean as you take into account the sharpness and steepness of the steeps. You have agency over your own speed, just to throw a buzzword out there. Needing to know when to slow down or speed up as you're rewarded with cheers upon sharp turns is pretty fucking rewarding due to how realistically the tracks are rendered. Well, I mean like, in terms of its up and downs, rockage, various types of snowage affecting your board in different ways, the tree density, the pileups, wet bits, big drops, and garbo grinds just feels very dynamic and well thought out with neatly placed setups, like following up slow bits with high bits and low bits with fast bits, making it never not fun. But as for those textures, I think the game looks a bit too jittery for its own good, which may have very well been due to the classic. Still, it's good. Much like how Rising Zan was an awkward but bizarrely ambitious forerunner of all modern action games, Cool Borders 2 is exactly that, but for extreme sports titles. Destruction Derby! Man, talk about an American-ass game. Made in the UK. By the two companies responsible for loads of well-known Amiga games, including the king of weird Euro platformers, Shadow of the Beast, aka that one game with the parallax scrolling, so it doesn't really get any more European, as is indicated by the soundtrack consisting solely out of full-on rave music. Psygnosis and Reflections being the two developers in question, by the way. The latter would go on to make the Driver games and are now part of Ubisoft's Borg, doing The Crew, and the former would get equally borged up by Sony, where they rebranded as Studio Liverpool, where they made the Wipeout games, as well as the 3D modeling and rendering tools used for the PS1, thus resulting in Dino Demo and D-Derby itself, which is also a very simple game. Even more so than Cool Borders was, as, well, you just really kinda drive. The handling could best be described as soapboxy, though not in a bad way. You drift and you slide across the simple short tracks, trying not to break neck and wreck yourself as you check yourself through this weird-ass camera angle. It has one PlayStation mode and two PlayStation mode, and there's a handful of courses and cars to choose from, and even this mega mad dumb bullshit mode. But no storylines or anything. It's as arcadey as it gets, and wholly to its benefit. I mean, shit's short, and so are the tracks, causing the racers on one lap to lapse into the other, always making for maximum chaos. Chances are you're gonna lose, not because of you not ending in first, but because of your car destructioning. Shit's hectic, stupid, and pretty fucking fun for a few hours.
Grand Theft Auto.
This is actually one of the very first games I've ever played. My dad bought it, I didn't even know what it was at all. I just wanted the Tekken and the Crash Bandicoot, but there he was, being all like,
"Yeah, I heard about this game where you get points for running people over. That sounds awesome."
In retrospect, he may have been thinking of Carmageddon, but that didn't make it any less of a good parenting choice, as I did indeed end up having loads of fun killing people for points. In GTA 2, and 3, and San Andreas. Yeah, not gonna lie, while this game isn't bad at all, even at the time I can't say I was particularly impressed by it. I had Tekken 3 and Crash 2, you see, compared to all of those lush polygons. The fuck is this 2D pixel shit gonna do?
Oh, but you can drive a car.
Bitch, I literally just stabbed myself. And I still feel the same today. Don't get me wrong, it's GTA, you drive cars, do missions, kill random people, get money, fart button. Only, there's no story. No characters, no fucking map, which is pretty goddamn detrimental, and all missions boil down to pick up car, bring car to place, now go back to phone and pick up more car. On top of that, the camera is also drunk, and the whole thing controls like ass. Ass that I have stored within my muscle memory, but might not curve as nicely for others. Shit's riggedy-raggedy rough, pretty much. Influential for sure, but barely playable, though I do dig the aesthetic. They wanted to create a grimy, shitty city and managed to do so excellently with the color palette, garbo and tires, the shady neon signs coating each building, and fart button. But nothing that isn't done better in its sequel, which probably would have been a better choice for this collection if I'm honest. Like, I can get the novelty behind the very first GTA, but then that's also all that it is. An historical curiosity that's available for fucking free on Rockstar's own website, you cheap motherfucker! If there ever was a game that embodies the wild, edgy, adult, experimental nature of the PS1, then it's probably not this one, but a close second, that's for sure. Because, man, this game is up its ass and intimidating. They spelled Qube with a Q, just so that its abbreviation would spell IQ, which is that thing that stupid people think is what smart means, so you know that intelligent Qube is onto some real shit. Mainly just blocks rolling at you in pitch black darkness as you dodge them lest you fall to your death. I get the vision though. Puzzle games are usually kinda garish and poppy looking, and Masahiko Sato wanted to subvert that, which he already does just with the main menu alone. The black void with the carefully deliberated formal font choices, spread with the logo cheekily changing the C to a Q, as the epic yet eerie score unfittingly blares away the minimalism, is quite a strong aesthetic. You play as Elliot, a tiny man in a suit who gets attacked by blocks. He can taint the floor tiles to delete them by pushing button on one and then activating the trap, so to say, by pushing the button again right before the cube rolls onto the blue. There'll be different kinds of cubes too that can say chain deletions or permanently taint a spot that's not allowing you to use it, and so on. Should you not destroy enough in any case, then the ones reaching the end will take away a bit of your playing field, and that's actually pretty tough. Blocks will start moving faster, intimidatingly stomping at you like a giant angry wall, as you frantically scuttle about trying to delete them like the insignificant ant-sized salaryman that you are. Adult responsibility is the game, am I right, lads? This one actually runs well, by the way, seemingly solidly 60 and as crisp as a clear spring morning, which is important given the precise and speedy nature of it all. Not a game I can really see myself playing much. I don't really like puzzlers as it is, nor am I one to care for personal best and shit, but a very interesting title, that's for sure. Sony's first-party studios have always been a bit of an odd duck. You got the big, massive productions like Legend of the Dragoon, Detroit, The Last of Us, and Shadow of the Colossus. But then, alongside those, you get Echochrome, Tearaway, Folklore, Gravity Rush, Siren, Rain, motherfucking Tokyo Jungle, aka the Pomeranian survival game, why the fuck have I not played this? And how they managed that is by A, having infinite money, and really pretentious attitudes that get them to fund Archie shit, which, I mean, good for me, I guess. And B, swallowing up loads of tiny studios that you've never heard of because they get name changed or borged up entirely. And Exact was one of those devs. Before Sony swallowed them up, they made Japan-only games for the Sharp X68000.
Like, dude.
And upon CIE-age, they made that one Ghost in the Shell game for PS1 that everyone calls a hidden gem despite everyone saying that. Though maybe that's just because it's really fucking good. Heart-pumping, fast-paced, well-controlling action in full 3D. Not something you saw very often at the time, and especially impressive considering that they came from doujinny backgrounds. Well, that Gits game wasn't the only thing that they made for Sony. As much like the equally oddly contracted Tamsoft, they too were asked to make a launch title for the PlayStation Uno. Being Jumping Flash, a fully 3D first-person shooter and platformer coming out a full year before Quake that was meant to show off the PS1's technical prowess, which it did. Kinda. I mean, I'm not saying that it's ugly, but it's also very clearly a launch game that did indeed come out a full year before Quake, because oh boy, this could have done with some design to rip off me. Structurally, it's more 3D Mario-ish in that it takes place in large open maps with loads of isolated platforming challenges and enemies and collectibles dotted around for good measure. Though, unlike Mario and more akin to Bubs and Croc, it uses tank controls that generally tend to suck for precision platforming, but fare a fuck of a whole lot better in first person. The shooting, however, isn't great. It's quite a grainy bitch visually, which might be a classic thing, but that doesn't make it any less hard to see. And when you pair that with the speedy turning arcs and the fact that looking up or down requires you to stand still and hold shoulder button, you end up with an awkward. Similarly, when up in the air, you can no longer turn as lefting and righting, instead float strafes you to either side, which makes sense, as does the auto look down upon big air. It's just that it's still pretty hard to actually, see, what with the PS1 FOV and spatial awareness giving way to more leaps of faith than any platformer ever needed. Big, fun, high, crazy leaps of faith, mind you. I legit felt a sense of vertigo here and there, which was pretty exciting. Using Bounce Child's spring legs to essentially chain combo jumps, amping up the air you get with each hop is cool. even if the frame rate dunks on itself big time. There's a real sense of reward when you clear distances initially thought impossible. Plus, the levels are also designed well with loads of well-placed high-up platforms, making for more vertical exploration than what you'd usually see within the genre. It's really not a bad game at all, just more of a novelty than killer app by today's standards. Vaporwavy Greek pillars be damned. Is this a weird inclusion? I ask, not because it's bad or anything, but because I mostly associate it with the Dreamcast. Though, I suppose it being made on Namco's System 11 arcade boards, i.e. literally just a PS1 almost entirely, does make it make sense sorta, but yeah. This is also a very simple game. Blocks have taken over the town, you see, and Mr. Driller must drill them away. Adjacent blocks of the same color will puzzle game each other, but also gravity causing them all to fall, thus requiring a bit more tact regarding where one will dig, kinda like you're making your way through a finished Tetris or Bust-a-Move level. It's fast, it's fun, it's Mr. fucking Driller, what more do you want from me? Well, I know what I want. A well-deserved break and not another feature-length video on my hands. So come back next time when I do the other half. Will I overcome my childhood fears? Will I finally see more of R4 than what the demo had to offer? And will I actually review 2 entire JRPGs in one video? Fuck no! I mean, find out next time in the exciting new episode of whatever the show is called. Boom, boom, boom.